Hello everyone and welcome back to this Python programming course where you are going to learn everything you need to get started programming in Python. In this video, we will be looking at functions in Python. So let's jump right into it. In Python, a function is a group of related statements that perform a specific task. Functions help break out program into smaller and modular chunks. As our program grows larger, functions make it more organized and manageable. Furthermore, it avoids repetition and makes the code reusable. The syntax of a function goes as follows. So here we have def function name parameters, docstring statements, return expression. This function definition consists of the following components. First, we have the keyword def that marks the start of the function header. Then we have a function name to uniquely identify the function. Then we have parameters through which we pass values to the function. They are optional. Then we have a colon to mark the end of the function header. We have optional documentation string, docstring, to describe what the function does. Beside that, we have one or more valid Python statements that make up the function body. A statement must have the same indentation level, usually 4 spaces, that's a tabulation. And finally, we have an optional return statement to return a value from the function to the main code. We can create a function using the def keyword. For example, here we have def greet and the docstring is this function greets, and then we print hello and welcome to Gitworks. After creating a function, we can call it by using the name of the function followed by parentheses containing arguments of that function. For example, so here we've added a function called greet, which enables us to call the function. For this example, the greet has no parameter because the function does not require any parameter. So if we save this and run, we have hello and welcome to Gitworks printed to the screen. Note that in Python, the function definition should always be present before the function call, otherwise we will get an error. Parameters are the values passed inside the parentheses of the function. A function can have any number of parameters separated by a comma. For example, in this example, we will be creating a simple function to check whether the number passed as a parameter to the function is even or odd. So here we have a simple Python function to check whether a number x is even or odd. We have def even odd x as parameter. If x mod 2 is equals to 0, we print even, else we print odd. Then we have our driver code to call the function. Even odd we send 2 as argument and even odd we send 3 as argument. So if we save this and run, we have even printed to the screen representing the result for even odd 2. Then we have odd printed to the screen representing the results for even odd 3. The terms parameter and argument can be used for the same thing. Information passed into a function. From a function's perspective, a parameter is the variable listed inside the parentheses in the function definition, while an argument is the value that is sent to the function when it is called. So from the example above, we can call x as our parameter, then 2 and 3 will be our arguments. As recently said, an argument is the value that is sent to the function when it is called. By default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments, meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call the function with 2 arguments, not more and not less. For example, here we have definition of a function, def my function fname iname, we print fname plus we put a space, then we print iname. So this is a simple function to print 2 names. Then we call the function my function and we send in 2 arguments, Peter and Paul. So if we save this and run, we have Peter, Paul printed to the screen. Note that if you try calling this function with 1 or 3 or more arguments, you will get an error. So here we see that if we type my function and give it 1 parameter, we have an error, my function missing 1 required positional argument iname. And if we send in 3 parameters, we have my function takes 2 positional arguments but 3 were given. If you do not know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, add an asterisk before the parameter name in the function definition. This way, the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. For example, we have definition of my function and we sent it an asterisk with kits. Then we print the kits, and calling the function my function, we sent in different names: Emil, Tobias, and Linus. So if we save this and run, we have Emil, Tobias, and Linus printed to the screen in form of a tuple. The first string after the function is called the document string, or docstring in short. This is used to describe the functionality of the function. The use of docstring in functions is optional, but it's considered a good practice. The syntax below can be used to print out the docstring of a function. Using the function to check whether a number is even or odd we created above, we will just add a statement, functions to check if the number is even or odd. So this is our docstring, and then in the driver code to call the function we add print even odd dot underscore doc underscore. So if we save this and run, we have functions to check if the number is even or odd printed to the screen, representing the function's docstring. The return statement is used to exit a function and go back to the place from where it was called. The syntax of the return function is return expression list. This statement can contain an expression that gets evaluated and the value is returned. If there is no expression in the statement, or the return statement is not present inside a function, then the function will return the object none. For example, so here again we will be using a previously created function to greet someone. So here we have def greet name. This function greets the person whose name is sent as parameter. Print hello plus name, good morning. Then in the function call we have print greet and we send as argument May. So if we save this and run, first we have hello May, good morning printed to the screen. Then we have none. Here none is the returned value, since greet directly prints the name and no return statement is used. So now let's look at an example of a function that returns a value. So here we have definition of a function, def absolute value num as parameter. Then as docstring we have this function returns the absolute value of the entered number. If number is greater than equals to 0, return number, else return negative number. Then calling a function, print absolute value of 2, we send 2 as argument, then print absolute value of negative 4. So if we save this and run, we have 2 and 4 printed to the screen as the absolute values of values sent as argument. All variables in a program may not be accessible at all locations in that program. This depends on where you declared a variable. The scope of a variable determines the portion of the program where you can access a particular identifier. There are two basic scopes of variables in Python: global variables and local variables. Variables that are defined inside a function body have a local scope, and those defined outside have a global scope. This means that local variables can be accessed only inside the function in which they are declared, whereas global variables can be accessed throughout the program body by all functions. For example, we have def myfunc x equals to 10, print value inside function x. Then out of the function we have x equals to 20, we call myfunc, then we print value outside function x. So if we save this and run, we have value inside function 10 and value outside function 20. Here we can see that the value of x is 20 initially. Even though the function myfunc changed the value of x to 10, it did not affect the value outside the function. This is because the variable x inside the function is different from the one outside. Although they have the same names, they are two different variables with different scopes. Basically, we can divide functions into the following types: built-in functions, which are functions that are built into Python. Example: input, print, str, int, len, float, max, min, etc. In fact, Python has several built-in functions that are readily available for use. Next we have user-defined functions, which are functions defined by the user themselves. For example, we have the functions we have been doing throughout this video, like the absolute value, even, odd, greet, and so on. This is basically it for this video, but before we end this video, I am going to paste a practical exercise here for you to keep learning and implementing the concept of functions in Python. The link to the solution to the practical exercise is attached in the video description below, but before you check it out, make sure you try writing the code first. In our next video, we are going to look at modules in Python. So, see you soon.